knows exactly what he's saying. Please don't distress yourself. Alrighty. And we're going live, so studio silence, please. Mics are up. And a good morning to you once more, Lagos. You're tuned in and listening to Smooth Breakfast on Smooth 98.1. Officially, it's time for Freshly Pressed, so welcome. Joining me in the studio this morning for detailed newspaper analysis, we've got a full panel of analysts. Fuller than usual, Cheta Nwaeze is back from his wanderings. I'll be very briefly just comment on a quick story this morning. Good morning, Cheta.
Good morning.
Excellent. Always great to have you here. You can find him up on social media as at Chickster. We have also got Gbolahan in the studio. He is at Mr. G Quest up on Twitter. Good morning, Gbolahan.
Good morning, Folu, and good morning, Lagos.
Hey, great to have you here. Deveo Okorie is with us this morning. Find him on social media by the same name, Deveo Okorie. Good morning.
Good morning, Lagos. A cool budget on weed.
Aha, was waiting for that. And then we have got Adedunmade. It's been a minute, but he is in the studio, my learned colleague. Good morning, Adedunmade. How are you?
Good morning, Folu. Good morning, guys.
There you go. Find him on Twitter by the exact same name at Adedunmade. As we delve into our first story for the morning, please feel free to contact us on different platforms. Send a WhatsApp message to 0809 444 0981 if you want to comment, or you can tweet at Smooth981FM. Just make sure you use the hashtag FreshlyPressed981. That is what will allow us to read out your messages over the airways. So first story, we're going to talk about the breaking story from Premium Times, or not so much breaking anymore, but still very big news. Nigeria's former defense chief Alex Badeh has been shot dead. That's retired Air Chief Marshal. He was shot dead along the Abuja-Kefi Road. The Air Force did confirm the death in a couple of tweets on its official Twitter handle, and we must remember that just before his death, Mr. Badeh was being prosecuted for an alleged 3.9 billion naira fraud while in office during a Goodluck Jonathan's administration. Chesa, I know that you want to weigh in on this story, so I'm just going to go with you to start.
Well, I'll start it with the Mark Twain quotes. I've never killed a man, but I've read many obituaries with great pleasure. Alex Badeh, I think it's rather unfortunate that this happened at this time. He needed to answer for quite a lot. And the robbers or kidnappers, whoever, I think did the country a disservice. 3.9 billion that should have been used to fight Boko Haram he was under prosecution for that, and the prosecution had just closed its case less than 2 weeks ago. The defense hasn't started. So some conspiracy theorists might come out and say, oh, that somebody wanted to silence him. That's all besides the point. The point is this: Alex Badeh was a very bad steward when he was in charge of the Air Force. One. But for me, his biggest crime wasn't even the money that he moved. His biggest crime was his conduct during the fall of Mubi to Boko Haram.
Okay, what was
in
that?
Early 2014, when Boko Haram were at the gates of Mubi, Alex Badeh sent choppers to evacuate just his immediate family from Mubi and left his hometown to its fate. It doesn't get more wicked than that. Now, the third thing I want to talk about is the larger issue of security along those particular roads.
Yes,
the Abuja-Kefi road is very insecure. The Akwanga Jos road is very insecure. I mean, it was on the Akwanga Jos road that you had Idris Al-Khali disappeared, and then eventually his body was discovered. The Abuja-Kaduna road, very insecure. The Zaria-Funtua road, or Kaduna-Zaria-Funtua road, there as in security, and this is all around our nation's capital. It's something that should be screaming for attention, but it is clear that the security services are overwhelmed, and so we can't. So let us for a second remove Alex Badeh's evils. For people so high ranking to be being picked off on those roads, then the rest of us floor members of society, what hope do we have?
It's a big issue. Thank you very much for that, Cheta. I don't know if Gbolahan, do you want to weigh in at all on that? I think this story is pretty covered. There you go. Thank you very much. Deveo, let's go to the top of our news cycle now, shall we? Buhari declines assent to an MBC amendment bill, but that's not all that this day is actually talking about. It then goes on into Ike saying that he's not amongst Nigerians being placed on travel ban list. But I guess that's the second part of it. Deveo, please take us through the story.
Yes, this is a 2-point gunshot. One, PMB, that's President Muhammad Buhari, has declined assent to the that's the bill that seeks to establish the National Broadcasting Commission, the NBC. Now, in a nutshell, because it's a lot of Jabajantis if I start to read, well, he's saying that one aspect was deleted, which was not provided for in terms of incidental powers to the commission that was there before. Well, back and forth, it just simply means that there's something there which he believes hasn't been backed fully and should be reviewed.
Yeah.
Now, my simple take is this. Look, between the executive and the assembly or the legislature, they have back channels. They have even direct channels. There's the special assistant on National Assembly matters, that's Ita Enang, and I think the National Assembly also has their own committee that directs issues regarding the executive. Why can't they discuss this? I mean, how easy or how difficult is it for them to come together, look at themselves and say, okay, I think there's a dot here that's missing, there's an I here, let's agree and get to some conclusive points before you come out officially and now declare, okay, I'm declining. It seems to me that the politics in this carries more weight than the technicality.
Absolutely.
Now, what is the long run if they're wasting the people's time? At the end of the day,
And resources.
yes, and resources. Governance is not carried out to its efficiency. Winging that to the Senate President, who came out also to declare that he was not under investigation. Sorry, that he was not on the travel ban list, that there were rumors going about, and that he said it came to his attention that there were misleading reports by some newspaper that the Deputy Senate President, Senator Ike Ekweremadu, has been barred from the country on the request of the Special Presidential Investigative Panel on Recovery of Public Property. Now, in him clarifying, he said that what was happening was that they had taken an issue with him for neglecting to declare his assets as provided by an act that each public officer declare their assets every 4 years. And then he also added the fact that that act was now obsolete because those powers were now resting with the Code of Conduct Bureau. Still more hubris. Well, at the end of the day, we expect those who actually have the power to actually do their job, which is the Code of Conduct Bureau. We need to hear from them as well regarding this position.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that, Deveo. All right, Gbolahan, let's move on now to you. Malnutrition is a threat to education in the Northeast, says a nutrition expert. And Bamidele Omotola dropped the hint at a media dialogue recently with a forum organized by the Child Rights Information Bureau of the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture. It is frightening to think that, according to the World Bank, they predicted that if urgent steps are not taken by 2021, Nigeria will overtake India as the world capital for the death of children below 5 years. That is a horrifying, horrifying statistic to think of.
Yeah, well, yet again, another negative news or statistics about the unusual incidences that we have. And I mean, you know, we're talking about in Nigeria, we have one of the highest infant mortalities, and we also have one of the highest childbirth mortalities and maternal mortalities as well. And so this is adding on to the list of negative statistics that the country doesn't really need as well. So when we look at the information anyway, he's saying that, I mean, there's a lot of malnutrition that is going on in the northeastern part of Nigeria due to the insurgency that we've been having, which has been going on for several years now, which is the Boko Haram situation that we've been having. And of course this is expected anyway, because when you have a situation where there's an insurgency taking place in a part of the country, of course there's going to be a lot of issues that are going to occur due to that. There's going to be a lot of children out of school. There's going to be a lot of starvation going on there. So, you know, it's talking about 21 states that is actually, no, 12 states that is actually being affected by this. And amongst those states, we're talking about Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa states as one of the states that are being affected by this. And, you know, the media parley was brought up as a means of just bringing awareness to the situation that is going on. I know the government is fully aware of these challenges that children are facing in that part of the country, and I know at the same time as well, to not talking about the area where we have a high number of insurgencies taking place, but generally across Nigeria anyway, there's a lot of feeding programs that is being done by the Nigerian government anyway, as a means of getting children back to school as well too. So when we look at this, it's a bit difficult to see how, when you're having when war is an insurgency is being fought,
Yes.
how you would actually get the school feeding programs taking place in those areas. It's a bit of a challenge at the moment. Not until you are able to stem that, or you are able to evacuate the people around that, which is virtually impossible to do. How do you evacuate that many numbers of people anyway in that area? So, we need to do a lot more anyway in ensuring that we look after the children. We ensure that, of course, we put an end to this malnourishment, or else, there's going to be a lot of death, as predicted by the World Bank and UNICEF as well, to come 2021.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that concerning stuff. Speaking of concerning stuff, let's move over to financial crimes, or alleged financial crimes. Adedunmade, I'm going to come to you for the story from the New Telegraph. EFCC arraigning the NBA president, Usoro, for alleged 1.4 billion naira fraud. Now, this is a story that we took earlier on, as if it wasn't this week, it was last week actually that we sort of touched on this. But now we've been told officially, according to the reports, that yesterday the Nigerian Bar Association president, Mr. Folu Storms, was arraigned by the EFCC at the Federal High Court. It's a 10-count charge. He's pleading not guilty to all counts. And there was a bit of back and forth as to whether there should be a plea accepted. But I'm going to go to you, Adedunmade, for your breakdown of the story.
Oh, well, allow me to start with a quote which is attributed to the acting chairman of the EFCC. And it says, this was stated sometime in August 27, yes, and it was reported in the Punch newspaper. It says, it is personally disheartening to see lawyers who invest their talents and expertise in advancing the cause of corrupt politicians and public officials. It is amazing that a senior lawyer can accept professional fees of 1.7 billion naira from a politician without scruples. Now, what I believe that this quote is the genesis of the problem that is going on now.
Okay.
Now, the EFCC is frustrated because what they are doing a shoddy job of their trial, and there are many lawyers out there who know their onions and who are able to beat them in all of these cases. Now, the truth is this: a lawyer offers a service, right, and you pay for that service.
Absolutely.
And when you pay for that service, the onus is on him to offer you the best of his professional service as his client. So when he charges you for it and you agree to pay that sum, then how does it concern anybody else?
I guess the question I think that some people will have, or perhaps the direction the EFCC is coming from, and something we should consider, is when you have a state official, the sitting state official, that's offering to pay one particular service in billions of naira. I mean, shouldn't that raise some alarm bells?
Now, this is the correction.
Okay.
This is not one particular service. Usoro has provided a list of cases that is handling on behalf of the state government.
But I think, sorry, when I say one service, I mean from a particular client, but in billions of naira.
No, he has been on retainer since 2009 by the state government. So he has worked for them for over 10 years.
I see.
And he has handled things from election petitions to arbitrations. Come on, these things don't come cheap. People pay millions of dollars just for arbitration fees. So if you convert this to naira, it can now result to something substantial.
Of course, but should a sitting state official be able to afford that?
Should be able to afford
Billions
payments.
of naira.
No. One, this payment was not made.
Playing devil's advocate here.
Yes, great.
Okay.
This payment was not made in one tranche.
Okay.
It was made in different instrumental payments over a large period of time. Now, Usoro is also not the only lawyer that got paid from these fees. There are many senior lawyers, members of the inner bar, and also members of the outer bar that also got paid from these fees as well. So it is not as if Usoro just came and collected 1.4 billion naira. No, that is what they are making us feel.
That is how
and they are making it sound as if it is a criminal act to offer a professional service.
And it is not.
Now, there has been various jurisprudences and court judgments, who states that a lawyer's professional fee is not the business of the EFCC. It is a contractual agreement between the lawyer and the client.
Absolutely.
So when the client has not cried foul, what is the business of EFCC now crying foul? And I would like to state that this case is something that has been on for so long, and I admit and I commend Mr. Folu Storms for the transparency he has shown so far, because they don't even have to ask him questions before he provides documents. They don't have to ask him questions before he provides details. And he's letting people know that this is what is happening. Now, there's another issue. Folu Storms is not the only defendant on the list. There are about 6, including the state governor of Akwa Ibom, now, and some commissioners as well. Why haven't those people been served? Why is it only Paul Usoro that they are saying to take him to court? I believe so, and I believe that this is the EFCC just trying to weaken the resolve of lawyers in defending their clients.
Thank you very much for that. Very, very well put. Very informative. We appreciate that from you, Adedunmade. Thank you. As we stick with the EFCC, but now we go back to what's going on in the clubs. Should you be popping bottles this Christmas? Perhaps with a bit of caution. The next story is from the Punch newspaper. EFCC begins Operation Cyberstorm to tackle Yahoo boys. That's what the Punch is reporting, and I'm coming to you for this one. They codenamed it Cyberstorm. They say that operators will be monitoring suspicious transactions, especially by youths who cannot explain the sources of their wealth. They say they will be deploying agents in nightclubs and concerts where said youth usually go to pop expensive champagne.
Yes. The EFCC is raising the temperature. They are raising the temperature here. Well, the Yahoo boys, and then what we refer to as fraud crimes, 419. That's money that's made that's not yours, or intercepted, or advance fee fraud, right? Now, it's been in Nigeria for a long time, but it's taking a new dimension where our youth have become the main drivers of this activity. Now, the EFCC is saying that on the cyber side, which before they were not too strong, I think they've now gotten some capacity. They've decided that they're going to go head on on the physical side. Not only are they checking suspicious transactions where people cannot explain, where you cannot explain their source of wealth, they're also going to man nightclubs and concerts where people are popping expensive champagnes. First question, what is an expensive champagne? Secondly, they also said they'll be monitoring social media accounts of suspects who show off their lifestyles, expensive lifestyles of cars and properties, etc. Now, my question here, but they said those who live honest lives will not be touched. So what is
an honest life?
An honest life.
How do you determine which bottle of champagne will get me in trouble, which will not?
Yes, if I have lived and worked and earned my fee on whatever, should I be oppressed by government simply because I'm driving in the car that I've worked hard for?
I could have saved a lot of money this year just to go into a club to oppress other people.
They said this investigation is taking place in Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Ibadan, most of our major metropolitan cities. They even, in quotes, arrested about four boys in Abuja who were known to have scammed some people and brought up fictitious Facebook pages. Now, my issue is not the glamour or the noise that comes with 419. 419, or Yahooism, is a systematic breakdown of our values. Most times we talk about the youth and we say, oh, how they've lost their way by going after these practices that defraud people both locally and abroad. But we tend to forget how we came about to this extent. This is a society that has been raped by all forms of material pursuits. So youth have simply just taken to that. They have followed the leaders in the land that you hardly have much justice for those that have committed heinous crimes against our commonwealth. What do you expect the youth to do? When my father or my granddad is stealing in billions, what do you expect me as his prodigy to do? So I think the EFCC, while they are trying in a manner to address the crime head on, because I think that's going to create some tension, especially in some of our youths. If you remember, there was a time in Lagos when a certain police commissioner put out a view that ladies who wander around at night should be arrested. That was simply based on a lifestyle. Now, it was difficult to separate those who were actually genuine women or those who were women of the night. What we don't want is a scenario where honest youth or people who have made gotten the youth to start being harassed simply because there's a fight against Yahooism. So we hope this will not lead to more clamor.
I think just pop these bottles with discretion. That's what I would say. All right, let's keep it moving. Up next, in not very amusing news, very serious stuff. The New York Times have obtained videos showing Nigerian soldiers killing Shiites. The Punch is reporting this, saying that the Nigerian army had admitted to killing 6 members of the Islamic movement of Nigeria along the Abuja-Zuba Expressway between 27th of October and 29th of October. The army had said the Shiites were armed, they attacked them, but the New York Times say that a video that it obtained showed that soldiers actually shot at civilians who were fleeing the scene. Photos and videos, they say, that day show at least 26 bodies. The group itself said it collected about 49 bodies during 4 days of protest. But of course, in response to that, Brigadier General John Agim, who's a spokesman for the Nigerian military, says that he hadn't seen the videos of the event, but was certain that whatever existed had been manipulated to make Nigerian soldiers look bad, calling it stage managed. And he then went on to say, when they attack the military, what do you expect soldiers to do? Of course, there will be necessary course of action. Your thoughts, Adedunmade?
I want to borrow a word from Deveo here, which is, or a phrase, which is that we are in an oppressed state. Because we have to understand that for the past 4 years, over 500 Shiites have been killed by either the police or the military up to this time. That is from 2014 till now. Now, we must also ask ourselves, why does the military deny everything? Every time a local or international agency comes up with facts that condemns them, they just outrightly deny it, and state that there is what I call a conspiracy to put the military in bad light.
And now they're seeking to have Amnesty International leave the country because they say they're setting them up.
It is not setting up. This is a video. At least we can see the facts here. We can see the true colors. People were shot,
managed, manipulated.
People were shot in the back. People were shot in their legs. People that were fleeing were shot. What is the wait? Let's even ask ourselves one question. What is the mode of engagement of the military in such situations? Now, these people threw bombs. Yes, I agree that there must have been some form of violence, on the part of the Shiites, especially when they engage the soldiers. But we know Shiites, they just stay on the road, they march, and they don't actually go around terrorizing people, breaking bottles, or causing havoc.
A young man called Mohammed Sani, who said that his brother and friends of his were killed on the day, said that our protests are peaceful, or should we say were peaceful,
exactly.
But they kill us anyway.
Exactly. So now, how long would they continue to be peaceful?
I think the other thing that you also need to mention as well too is the kind of ammunition that was actually used as well too. It was actually